Managing your economy is one of the most important things you can do in the game of Counter-Strike. The entire game revolves around your ability to buy the tools you need to succeed in any given situation, and understanding the ebbs and flows of both yours and the enemy's economy throughout the game is one of the easiest ways to elevate your game to the next level. But it can be difficult, especially if you're someone who plays a lot of solo play, because a lot of the times you're going to be in a situation where you're looking at Timmy, who's still trying to figure out where his crosshair is, Johnny, who's bought his 5th scout in the row even though it's only the 4th round, and of course that guy with the anime profile picture and the name in Korean, who's just waiting to buy his first op, die with it, and then start calling you slurs because somehow it's your fault. So today we're going to go over a no-nonsense guide to managing your economy and getting the best buys possible out of any given situation. So if that sounds interesting to you, make sure you guys take a second, leave a like, leave a comment down below, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm on my way to 1,000 subscribers, so every single one counts as it helps me get closer to being able to monetize this channel. While you're down there, make sure you take a second, go and follow me on Twitch as well. I stream Counter-Strike 2 Sunday through Friday, 8:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Come watch me fuck up, fuck around, sometimes find out, and occasionally hit some great plays. And with that out of the way, let's get into the video. Alright, first things first, before we use the money, we need to understand how we're going to make the money throughout a game of Counter-Strike. Everyone starts the game off on the pistol round with $800. Winning the round will net you $32.50. If you win the round with planting the bomb on T side, you get $3,500, and if you defuse the bomb on CT side, you get $3,500 as well. Also, a small note, if you are the planter of the bomb on T side, you get an extra $300 on top. Losing a round starts your loss bonus at $1,400, which then increases by $500 for each subsequent loss to a maximum of $3,400. Some caveats. If you were to lose on the pistol round, your loss bonus would start at $1,900 instead. This is not the case for any other round after the fact. Also, winning a round while you're on a loss bonus streak does not end your loss bonus. If you are on a losing streak, you win a round and then lose the round after, you are only reset down one stage of your loss bonus. If you were at $3,400, you win and then lose the next round, you would be knocked down to $2,900 instead. Beyond that, all frags in the game generate a different amount of money except for the Zeus, where Zeus kills will give you $0. Just take a note on screen for the different kill rewards, keep those in the back of your head as we go forward. Now that we know where our money is coming from, we can start managing it properly. We're going to focus on the first 4 rounds of a game, as those are a microcosm of how you're going to manage your economy throughout the rest of the half. Starting on the pistol round, you have $800 to work with. So how do you approach your first pistol round buy? Well, I talked about this more in depth in my recent pistol round video, linked up above, but basically you need to decide, are you an aggressive player who wants to duel, or are you someone who wants to bring utility for your team into the round? If you're a utility player, you want to consider playing more passively and use smokes, grenades, and flashes to your advantage. Also, do keep in mind, if you're a CT player, maybe be the one guy to buy a defuse kit. It comes up more than you think and can win you a lot of rounds. So you made your buy, and now let's say you win the pistol round. And for the sake of this example, let's say you got 3 kills doing it, and you bought a kit and a smoke on that first round, spending $700. So you had $100 in the bank, you got 3 kills with the pistol, so you got another $900 from your kill rewards, and then you got $32.50 for winning the round on frags. You're going into that second round now with $41.50 in the bank. How do you go about your second round buy to set up your economy for success going forward? Well, with MR12 and the way that Counter-Strike plays right now in this version of CS2, it's important to be conservative with your economy, especially on the CT side, where it's so easy to get punished and pushed into a save. So, most people are going to buy submachine guns on the second round. There's a few people who are going to push for like an M4. That's very dependent on your playstyle and especially on the map. If you're going to be anchoring a site from a far away place and you want to buy the M4 or the FAMAS, that's fine, that's totally understandable. But the MP9, the MP7, these SMGs are so strong right now, just because of their individual performance, but also because they generate a lot of money. The MP9 only costs $12.50, and each kill gives you $600. You get 2 kills on the MP9, you've already made back your investment in the gun. So it makes total sense to use these SMGs, especially in the early game, to generate extra economy, because most likely teams are going to save after a pistol loss, something we'll talk about more in just a minute. This goes the same for the T side, by the way. The MAC-10, MP7, again, incredible options. They're going to generate you a lot of money. And again, maybe sometimes a Galil, maybe sometimes an AK, but those are more contextual buys. Now let's flip it to the opposite. You're on CT and you've just lost the pistol. You're now in an interesting spot, and I've dedicated an entire video to this, but force buying as the CT specifically can make a lot of sense. I'm not going to go into all the reasons why, because I'm just going to direct you to that video instead, again linked up above, but in short, saving after a pistol loss on CT does allow you to buy on the third round, but you do not have enough money for a full buy, which would be a rifle, armor, kit, and all of your nades. You're making compromises on that third round buy. So instead, a lot of teams deploy a force buy, where you're going to buy up pistols, sometimes SMGs, armor. You're not going to have all the utility or all the weaponry you would want from a proper buy. You're taking an aggressive risk when you know the Ts aren't fully equipped themselves to try and steal a round back in the early game, and one, do economic damage to them, and also kickstart your own economy and your own momentum. Now I have to emphasize, the reason this force buy is even considered for the CT specifically is because of how hard it is to get full buys going for the CT side. Again, MR12 is a limited format. You only have 12 rounds a half to work with, and for the most part, if you lose early in the CT half, you're going to spend a lot of time just trying to get to your full buys. And especially if you start winning and losing, oscillating between the two, it can be an absolute nightmare. So you need to do something quicker to try and get your advantage sooner, because you're working with less opportunity than the T side. The T side is basically never force buying after a pistol round loss, except in some situations when you get the bomb down and you have the extra money. Even then, I basically wouldn't recommend it. The T side economy is so strong that you're really only ever one save away from being able to buy AK and armor at basically any point in the game. You are pretty much never double saving unless something has gone catastrophically wrong. So for the most part, if you're going to lose the pistol on T side, I would just save, get your full buy on the third round that's going to be really strong, where you're always going to have weapon advantage over the CTs, and just start your game off from there. I think it's just way better. So once we get past this early game that's very structured, has a very defined flow to it, we now get into the mid game where there's a lot more contextual information to take into account. Basically, after the first 4 rounds, anything goes in terms of whether you're going to buy, save, or force in any given round. And it has to do a lot with how you look at your economy versus what you can glean about the enemy economy. As a general rule, I would say if at any given point you're under $3,000, you should consider saving. If you're over like 45, you should be buying in some form. That's a great rough estimate to keep in mind, but there's a lot of wiggle room in between. Because just because you're going to save a round doesn't mean you're going to buy nothing. There's a lot of room to do half buys, pistol armor, stuff like that can help you have a chance in those rounds, or at least look to deal some economic damage. You should really only be full saving, buying 0 items if you are desperately broke and desperately need to get a full buy as soon as possible. And again, with the T side, this gets a lot easier because Ts are pretty much only 1 save round away from being able to buy at any given point. So if you have like $3,000 on the T side, you can buy a Deagle. You can even buy a Deagle armor or an SMG in armor and still be good to buy AK armor and nades in the next round, which makes taking those risks a lot more attractive. Whereas again, the CTs, you need to play it a little closer, or you need to go full commit and go for those force buys. Which of course leads to one of the most asked questions in the history of Counter-Strike: when should I force buy? And the answer to that is, it's complicated. You see, a force buy is something that you should really be doing when you absolutely need to try and win a round, but you can't full buy. Let's say it's getting close to match point. You can't really afford to give the enemy a free round right now, but you can't afford a full buy. That's going to be a situation where you need to consider going for the force. Also, let's say you've been tracking your opponent's economy. Maybe they've been on a loss streak, they just won a round, and now you have the opportunity to win back and maybe put them back onto a save. That's a good place to force buy. It's very contextual. You need to make those judgments in game. There's no hard or fast rules here. It takes a lot of paying attention and also paying attention to what your teammates are doing. Not all teams are going to vibe with force buying, so you may just be better off saving, especially if you're a solo player or you're not playing in a full group of 5. So really, managing your economy boils down to keeping on your toes and being aware of everything that's going on around you, both what your teammates are doing and what the enemy is doing. And at the end of the day, there are also some ways to subvert your economic issues. If you're on the CT side and you know the enemy team is going to be full bot because they're on a win streak, you don't have to buy armor and helmet. You can buy just body armor. Because if everyone's running AKs or ops, it makes no difference whether you have the helmet or not. Also, checking down to a FAMAS or an MP7 or an MP9 to get full nades is something you may have to consider if you're someone who's going to be throwing a lot of utility for your team. Remember, this is a team game. Not everyone's going to be in the role of getting all the frags or entering or primary opping. There needs to be people who stand back and flash corners, throw smokes, throw grenades. And if you're going to be that guy, you don't always need to have the strongest rifle in your hands. Also, and keep this in mind because this gets overlooked all the time, keep an eye on the money of your teammates as well. If you have 9k and the guy next to you has 3k, drop him a rifle so that your money equals out and he can get full utility and armor. And as a last and final tip, this goes out to all my solo players out there because I see this way too often in my own games. Whatever you're going to do as the team does. If you call a force buy and people aren't with it, don't just force buy anyway. Buying with your team is more conducive to success than going out on your own and trying to make hero plays. Look at your team's economy before you make buys. If you have enough money for M4 armor and nades, that doesn't mean little Timmy next to you does. And you buying up while he saves means that you are not going to have the strongest possible round out of your team. It's very important to just keep your head on a swivel and pay attention to the things around you. You are not simple, you are not Nico, you are not going to solo carry your games. And even when you do, it doesn't mean you're going to do it every time. Play with the team, and you will be playing for success more often than not. Alright, that's the most straightforward, easy economy guide that I could muster. Hopefully this makes sense for new players and returning players alike, as the CS2 landscape is quite different, especially if you haven't played in a few years. Now I will say, the current state of how the economy works is definitely set to change. Most people are in agreement that the current economy can't continue because of the inherent issues, which I've talked about ad nauseum, and most likely we're going to see those changes in the post-major cycle, so probably within the next few months. So this guide is going to be relevant now, and a lot of things here are going to be relevant forever, but obviously if you pay attention to this channel, stay subscribed, and keep up to date with new videos, I will continue to refine and make new videos as the economy changes and the meta changes around it. So make sure you guys do that, leave a like, leave a comment down below, and make sure you follow me on Twitch as well, and I can see you guys soon with another video. Peace.